Welcome to this episode of the Smarter Business Podcast. This podcast is a place where you can get business advice with a video bent. We like to talk to folks that are using video in interesting ways within their business. And this month, we're going to talk to Nathan Warner of Garland Technology. Nathan, it's good to have you.
Neil, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think this will be a great one. We're going to talk about, your crazy backgrounds and everything that goes into that, and kind of just, your career / business journey a little. So
Sure.
Why don't I give you a chance to introduce yourself? How do you think of yourself? What title would you give yourself, and so on?
Sure. I don't know. I mean, by trade right now, I guess I'm a learning and development consultant, but I've spent since 2007 working in online education and various technologies to help corporations and colleges figure out how to use technology to do better and more effective work, using the series of online tools.
Excellent. You've got a couple of gigs, really, right? You do some adjunct teaching in addition to,
So I've been teaching online for 5 years, and but it's all the same technology, just figuring out how to reorganize it and use it for different purposes. And I think that helps me see it from different angles and different lenses.
Sure. And as you mentioned, no stranger to sitting in front of a webcam all day, right? So
generally talking to myself for the better part of a decade, so I'm more comfortable than most or anybody should be in that situation.
It's a good skill to have right now, right? So I guess the question I typically ask people as a follow-up there is, if you had to boil down what you do to one sentence, what would it be? I think you answered that pretty well. You use video and online as a kind of tool for people to develop learning systems and so on, right?
Yeah, I use learning as a tool to develop people and grow businesses.
Okay. An even better answer than I gave.
The one sentence things are never good at those. My dad was a pastor. I could talk for hours.
Excellent. So we kind of brought up a little bit one way that you were probably better prepared for kind of what's been going on this past year than a lot of other folks. You were comfortable in the virtual space. A lot of other folks got thrust into it due to COVID. How has, I guess, your work life changed compared to what it was a year ago?
Yeah, it's turned upside down. I think for me, like, first and foremost, I'm a hardwired extrovert. I'm, gregarious to the core. And so I think there's natural challenges in isolation. Also, I just started with Garland, 3 days before the world stopped turning. Right? I started in the middle of a week. I think I worked 3 days. And then I got a text on Sunday, hey, we're closing the office. Come get your stuff Monday morning. And so I was 3 days in the office, and now, 10 months from home. I feel like I'm still getting to know many of my colleagues because we haven't had that time, a lot of that organic conversation and relationship building. But it's also kind of fun. I like creative problem solving, and this has been, 2021 certainly is the continuation of the year of the create and problem solve, the pivot. And so, right, we had to, like everybody, we had to rethink how we do business. Everything we knew about our operations and the way that we engage with each other, with our customers, with our vendors, the way we hold events, where our budget goes, the kind of technology and gear we invest in, all of that stuff, we had to sit down and rethink. It's that, I guess, kind of classic sort of unofficial Marine Corps slogan, right? It's like, how do you improvise, adapt, and overcome? For us, we had our sales kickoff, our large all-company annual meeting last week. And first time it's been virtual. Historically, everybody got on a plane and shipped off to Buffalo. And obviously, this year, we were in GoToMeeting. And we had one of our vendors, a third party, cancel on a presentation on like 24 hours notice. And she sent us some kind of pre-canned, prefabbed bit. And it came across my desk, and it sort of was, how do we make this a little bit better, right? We have this time blocked out on our calendars, and everybody's planning to be here. The best use of our time together is not to all watch a pre-recorded video. And so I reached for my sombrero. Yes, I actually do. I do keep a sombrero by my desk. You definitely should have one of those. Um, a man of many hats. Also you got to have your Bills hat.
Right.
Got to have your company
Important.
hat.
All right.
So I grabbed my sombrero and I shot this ridiculous video. I created this caricaturization of a character that shouldn't even have existed. And I shot this really, really gimmicky introduction. And I told everybody to watch the video, before the scheduled time. And then when we got together, I had coordinated with our HR staff to do a live online game show. First one the company has ever done, to the best of my knowledge. And truth be told, at the end of it, like we took what would have been a really, I don't know, a really kind of passive session where people were just sitting back and sort of listening and hearing and maybe paying attention. And we turned it into an active participant situation where we used a program called Kahoot online to do, online trivia, and it was great. And so, like, there's a ton of those stories. How, if I look back over the last year of how we've had to just get creative, say, what do we have? It's sort of this. It's what we call like the so what, now what, right? So what? So this is what's going on. It is what it is. Now what? How are we going to move forward? And then we do it. And I think that's what keeps me going. That's why it's challenging as the year and change has been for everybody. That's one of the things that kind of motivates me and continues to push me. Is just there's always problems to be solved, and there's always creative solutions.
Right. It's fun solving problems. That don't yet have a solution. That can be really energizing for some people. I put myself in that camp too.
Yeah.
I love and we'll get to some of it a little bit later, but that was, I found myself in a weird, what do we do next, or how do we keep it moving type of spot for my own business. And I developed that kit that I'm on now, and you're on a modified version of, and in the Creator Network itself. So, all right, I'm going to back it up to we first chatted. I was putting out there that I was willing to do kind of webcam consulting sessions, and you took me up on that offer.
Yeah,
I got to see your kind of the beginnings of your studio, right?
Oh, goodness.
And it was ambitious then, right? Like you had a lot of good stuff going. You had the green screen going, which you're still rocking. Well, maybe a different one.
We've moved from a cloth green screen to we went all in. We're
painted wall, right?
We painted the wall.
Yeah. So you had the first version of the green screen. You had a couple of different things. You had a little bit of a studio. Was that at all planned before COVID? Were you going to be doing any work at home, or was that all meant for the office and you had to make that hard pivot in like a really short timeline?
Yeah, if by planned you mean we had an extra guest bedroom and no, I mean not in a million years. Even I've been teaching online for I shared for years, but even that it's just find a table, find a desk, find a couch, and sit down with a laptop. And so this was the first commitment of like, okay, somebody gave us a desk. I had a friend who said, hey, I'm getting rid of a desk. We're cleaning up our living room, and I said, I love a desk. And that was a few months before this all came about, and started goofing around with lights I had around the house and trying to throw sheets over them, and trying to find a way to properly light things as much as possible, and digging through old bins of technology for old webcams, and
you got it done.
I mean, there's this like old saying, right? That to whom much is given, much is required or expected. In organizations, like there's a lot required of you regardless of what you're given. So they're going to give you, as a starting point. I was given nothing, and the expectations were high. And so I found a way to sort of deliver with what I had and prove that we can invest more. And as we've continued to invest more, the production value has gone up and up and up. But started with just a really ambitious plan and hope and a dream, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, and that's actually a great kind of segue into the next thing that I was going to chat about, which is tied to the VidWheel Creator Network. So this month, the month of February, our monthly theme is OBS and live production. And you are going to talk about some of the things that you just touched on, kind of like making it work with the gear that you have. Our tentative title for your talk is Creating Video as a One-Man Band, and that's going to be on February 4th that you're going to be speaking with the group. I don't know, is there a good example of like, I had to make it work, didn't seem like it was going to, but I'm still using it today, or it worked that one time and now it broke.
Oh man, if you could see the mess of my office around here.
We can't because of the green screen setup. It's nice.
Yeah, I have a box light over my shoulder that has parchment paper from my kitchen that's clipped on with an an office alligator clip to get it at just the right angle to deflect the light in the direction it needs to go. And it's held, right. It hasn't moved. My laptop is still sitting on an unopened Settlers of Catan board game that I have. I get the right height.
All right.
It's
that's
you roll with it.
Yeah, you gotta make it work with what you have in house. That was even more true, like back in May or something, but still true now, right? So
the whole thing took an incredibly sideways turn when we were starting to talk about video, and my boss said, "What about a green screen?" And I said, "I don't know anything about green screens." And so I went on Amazon back when there were still green screens to be purchased on there for less than $5,000. Got one for $20. Right. But the problem was, I ended up in green screens because I'm on the second floor of my house and the ceilings are too low. So originally I was thinking, we'll just get one of those stretchy fabric banners, one of the pull ones, and I'll just get it pre-framed. It'll get shipped to my house. It'll be a black background with the company logo, and then after this, pandemic's over in 30 days, 60 days, then we'll just take it and we'll start running. We'll use it for trade shows. What I forgot was that my ceilings in the office are 7 feet tall, and so none of those prefabbed, cheaply priced items were available. And so then we pivoted to a green screen, and I built a PVC frame out of pipes from Home Depot.
There you go. Yeah, making it work again, right? That's awesome. That is excellent. So, because you're going to be talking in this one-man band presentation is largely going to be built around OBS and making it work, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if you want to show off a little. You got a lot of stuff going on in the background. I will pin you, and we'll see if that gives us any quality increase here on Zoom, and see what happens.
Yeah, let's take a look. I have so many experiments here inside of OBS. Even this scene I'm using right now, I have a looping 4K video file that I got for free from Pixabay, and a little social animation that I modified in After Effects from Storyblocks, and always stuff. But let's see. Here's a fun one. So I was shooting this bit. Someone threw me a PowerPoint deck, and they wanted me to record it. It was called a competitive overview, and it started. The script started with something about a 30,000-foot view of our competition. So naturally, I created this view of an airplane cockpit with an actual video of a takeoff. And so I start into the video and I say, "Hey, this is your captain speaking." And then at some point, as I abruptly end, I say, "I'm sorry, I got to run. It looks like I left the cruise control on, and we're about in the air." And it's just like those kind of ridiculous things that you can do on the fly.
Right.
Let's see what this one is. For our company Christmas happy hour. Let's see, where's my camera? There it is. So the camera's kind of out of frame a bit right now, but you just set something up and it's cheesy and it's ridiculous, and then suddenly you find this picture of a Santa with a. Let's see if we'll come up to the front.
And you shared that dancing Santa on the Creator Network. I took you up on that. I had that in a couple of spots myself.
And then then there's also a let's see here, if it'll load now. I also have a Santa with a grenade launcher that just comes out and shoots missiles at me. And, I'll just randomly in the middle of the meeting just kind of duck out of the way, and so you have stuff like that. I mean, you have like really practical and reasonable stuff. I think one of the things that I like actually has been using OBS for some basic animations. And so if I look at, I think it's over here. Let's see. Yeah. So I used it to create an animation, right? So here's a background running that has some information, has some social call outs, has a countdown timer, something that we could use, before a before we launch it into a webinar.
Right.
So right, OBS is kind of like, my wife got me one of those insane Instapot air fryer combos for Christmas that has
Sure.
18 functions.
Yes.
That's kind of what OBS is for me, right? It's just, there's so much you can do with it, and you can make it different every day, right? I can use it for 1,000 things, and once I preset it, I just kind of set it and forget it. It does its thing, right? There's a lot of work in sort of creating these animations and backgrounds, but once you've actually done all that pre-show work, you can move it on the fly as that one-man band.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's, I think, really interesting about it, which another good segue there, Nathan, because like we're going to talk a little bit about live producing this next month on the
Yeah.
Creator Network. And it's a little overwhelming, I think, to a lot of folks, because there's a lot of bits and pieces that you have to set up beforehand so that you can go through and just kind of record and go forward.
Yeah.
I've taken to live producing the talking head videos that I put on LinkedIn. And I didn't used to do that early on, but it's just so much more time effective and efficient for the amount of time I have to create things. So what do you think? Why do you think live production is maybe the best option for a one-man band type of production situation?
Yeah, I like OBS because I can use it for multiple purposes, right? So I get comfortable in the software. I can use that same software for recording those talking head videos that I do just as well. I can use it for some basic animation clips I'm building that are going to be way faster than they're going to be to do in After Effects, and free, right? And I can also push out to a webcam source like I'm doing now. So I'm able to use one tool that then can be broken down 3 different ways to create 3 different end products. And I think that's important for me. I think that you and I talked before this shoot about using OBS to do interviews, right? So I've been able to use OBS to shoot 2 live presenters, and then bring that into a scene that I created, and then be able to create a really simple, polished 2-person live interview video using OBS as the backbone.
Right. Yeah. And that is, like we talked about before, that's there are a lot of different ways to up the quality of interviews and so on. And OBS is a great tool to kind of help make that happen. Right.
But it's like a unique situation that you're in, though, because you, like, in this OBS sort of one-man band environment, you are the camera and lighting and sound crew, you are the on-air personality, you are the post-production team, you are the graphic designer, the animation builder. And so, like, and I'm I don't know about you, but I'm not great at all of those things. There's some of those things I'm good at, maybe one of those I'm great at, but I'm just trying to find my way through. And so that's, I think, the juggling act. And so for me, like, on camera, it's all about confidence. Like, how can you and I be sitting here meeting, and I'm fully focused on the camera, I'm fully focused on you, engaging with you, while there's animations bouncing off behind me and things going on. And OBS empowers that, right? OBS allows me to sort of pre-create all of these items, all of these lower thirds and animations, and then be able to trigger them with hotkeys, with simple keyboard shortcuts that I maybe have to glance at my number pad, maybe I don't.
Right. Yeah, it's it's an incredibly powerful program, and really looking forward to having you chat about it on the 4th. My next question that I have here is the difference between live production and like kind of the traditional editing setup. What do you think the main advantages are? I touched on a few, but I'll let you put it in your own words. And let's hear what you have to say on that subject.
I think I would echo what you said, right? For a lot of us, it's about speed and efficiency. They're critical. We have to move forward. We have to move on to the next project. And as a recovering perfectionist, OBS helps me. It protects me from myself. Left to my own devices, I will record, and then I'll spend half a day in HitFilm or Premiere Pro working on editing and post-production and perfecting all these little, sitting there with those stupid little audio waveforms, perfecting the up and down of my audio game. And so I'm going to spend half a day to make a video 5% better. Like, let's just be honest. Let's call it what it is. I'm going to spend half a day in post-production to make a video 5% better when I could be half a day into the next video. And that's why OBS works for me. That's why things are rolling as well as they are over here.
And so you've uninstalled HitFilm and Premiere so that you can't go in and start tinkering, right?
Burn the ships.
Yes. No, that's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that. So like from that perfectionist, kind of viewpoint, you kind of get what you get. And if you're comfortable kind of just setting up, going, moving forward based on that, I think that's perfect, because that's such a sticking point for folks, especially folks who are just starting to do some production work, right? Like,
yeah, and especially people who are doing it on contracts in an hourly situation, on billable hours. I mean, they obviously, we all want to make as much money as possible, but at the end of the day, they want to be able to deliver to the client in the shortest period of time and have the client realize the return on that value and get the repeat business from it. And it's not even OBS, it's just much as it is this idea that like one-man band video production, there's other tools that truly you could use to do it. But OBS is great because it's open source. There's so much content and information and plugins. And I've learned, I've consumed way too many hours of YouTube videos, but it's funny because it's this interesting combination of like Twitch game streamers, so people who are, streaming their games online, and then churches.
Right.
So you have these like two worlds colliding of people who are kind of thrust into OBS and figuring out, you have churches learning from gamers about how you do live production on a budget.
Well, actually, that's a great point, because we've had that discussion a couple of times before. A great example of the one-man band is the church that's trying to go virtual because of COVID, or the one that's just got, kind of a guy or girl, but a person who is
one volunteer who's got like a slight technology background.
Right. And they're not getting paid, and it's just like, all right, make it work. You got no budget, right? Like that's it's kind of a perfect example of, just trying to make it work. And you end up in that similar space, and you can end up with some really high quality stuff. So. Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask you the main question that we ask on this podcast when it comes to anybody who's been on. And that is, what is one thing that you have done to make your business or a client's business smarter?
I'm a hardwired learner by nature, and which, unsurprising, has led me down a path of teaching and training and developing employees. And so when I'm learning things, I'm always learning things so that I can teach them. It reinforces the learning for me to make sure I understand it, because, complexity is easy, simplicity is hard. So if you can understand something and learn it to the point where you can distill it and teach it to someone else, you really actually get it. You really, truly understand it. And so, I spent 9 months trying to figure out how to do video from home in a way that was, meaningful and impactful. And at the end of the day, a couple of weeks ago, I taught it back to our staff. So I sat down with our individuals on staff who'd be presenting at sales kickoff, and I talked through the basics of how to make the most of what you have around your house to be a great presenter. So we talked about using the lighting sources, using your windows, using cell phone cameras and headphones, and putting your laptop on a stack of board games or books to get your camera angle right. We talked through all that stuff, and so. I would say for me that one thing has always been to continue to teach and share whatever it is that I'm learning at any given time in any season of life.
Yeah, and it's you're into one of those spaces too, where like from your experience and so on, it a lot of it's probably simple, right, or common sense, because you've lived it for so long. But when you start rolling out some of those kind of those tips and tricks about like you brought up the lighting, that's what I found when I was doing those webcam coaching sessions, was like simple lighting changes that would blow people away sometimes, because it's not something that everybody's taught, right? It's something that like is second nature once you're making a lot of video, and you're there now. You had a lot of good lights. I remember way back when we did that, and it's just something that can be super valuable.
But that's a tip from you just as well. I observed you giving people coaching on how to use blankets they had on the back of their couch to deaden sound that was echoing behind them, right? It's always like, how do you make the most of, what you have around your house? And it's
well, that was
hilarious, but incredible.
Yes, that was especially important early in COVID when nobody was leaving their house, right? Yeah, but great point, right? And like the reality is a lot of people have a lot of stuff just in their possession that can help with that type of stuff. So, all right, I am going to ask you our last question of this interview, and it's the last question I ask in any interview. It's just open-ended. I always ask, did we knock anything loose by our conversation? Some folks have just brought up a book that they're reading or, a piece of software they just started using, but just open-ended. Is there anything else? That's the question.
Yeah. If there's one thing, go to LinkedIn and follow Jesse Cole, JESSECOLE. Jesse Cole owns a minor league baseball team called the Savannah Bananas, and Jesse gets it. He understands how you do business differently, how you adapt. I mean, the man, he named the team the Bananas. He wears a yellow tuxedo to every game. He's got people to dress up in penguin outfits and meet people in the parking lot. He used to have banana-shaped banana scratch and sniff tickets for the games. He totally gets it. He gets this sort of this improvise, adapt, overcome mentality. And he actually, I'll show it to you. He created an exhibition game called Banana Ball, which is he says that the reason that baseball is slowly dying, in his opinion, is because it's boring, which is a great thing for the owner of a baseball team to say.
Yes. An interesting take.
These are the rules for Banana Ball.
Yeah.
So 2-hour time limit, no bunting. If a fan catches the ball, it's an out. Batters can steal first base. Right? It's this totally ridiculous, insane mentality of first break all the rules. Right.
Right. Well, I remember, I think it was in arena football. Wasn't there a team, maybe it was Colorado, Denver or something, but they were letting fans call their plays through an app, right? Do you ever hear that? Well, and it's maybe not going to win you championships, but it is a fan interaction thing that in a sport that's maybe not got the popularity of the major leagues would be the difference between somebody, becoming a fan or buying that ticket or not. So
that was Jesse's big pivot this month, right? So the MLB just went through a major reduction where they eliminated 42 minor league teams. So they cut down 90% of recruits for next year. And so you got, literally thousands of players who thought they were going to go play single A ball who are now looking for a job. And so Jesse is holding open tryouts down in Savannah. And, sort of the invitation is, can you dance? Right? We want not just players, but entertainers.
All right.
And so it's just that constant question of so what, now what, right? This is the cards we were dealt. This is our current reality. And, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think on that note, we've never talked about the Savannah Bananas or I guess, sports theory in general here. Yeah. So, or the future of sports. I think we'll wrap it up with that. It has been great having you on, Nathan. I really look forward to on February 4th. We're going to chat with Nathan, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you reach out to me or find me on LinkedIn, you can get an invite to that presentation on the Creator Network. If you like what you hear on this podcast, please share it with your friends, subscribe. We publish in both video and audio formats. You can find it anywhere you download your podcasts. Nathan, this is where we would have once shaken hands, but we'll just wave goodbye.
We'll do that awkward virtual meeting wave.
Yeah, right. Unless you have some sort of, kind of, I don't know, something you could do to liven it up in OBS, an explosion, fireworks, something like that.
Jeez, on the spot like that. Let's see what we got here.
No, it's all right. Oh, there you go.
Just a beach scene. We'll just keep it classy.
It's going on vacation. Got it. All right. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now.